I'm Jane Pauley. Happy Mother's Day. And please join us when our trumpet sounds again next Sunday morning.
Just around the corner, you'll move mountains, you'll make waves, you'll be fearless, you'll be brave, there'll be nothing you can't face. Hope you always know your worth, though I know that life can hurt. Hope you know that you can turn to each other. Hope the road ahead is clear, and I hope you know when I'm not here that you'll always have the love of your mother.
I'm Margaret Brennan in Washington, and this week on Face the Nation, America's relations with Israel face a serious stress test amid accusations that the ally likely violated international law in its war with Hamas. Israel has issued additional evacuation orders for the million Palestinians who are either residents or refugees from the north now living in southern Gaza. Hundreds of thousands have fled the region in the last week as Israeli defense forces step up their ground campaign against Hamas in the city of Rafah. Plus, the strain between America and one of its closest allies intensifies as President Biden takes drastic measures to head off a full-blown Israeli invasion of Rafah. Prime Minister Netanyahu says if they have to, Israel will go it alone. We'll talk to Secretary of State Antony Blinken and two key senators, Arkansas's Tom Cotton and Maryland's Chris Van Hollen. Finally, saving Special Escape's mother. A story about how a group of Special Operations veterans helped a fellow serviceman's family get their mother out of war-torn Gaza. It's all just ahead on Face the Nation. Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. We are learning more about the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza as thousands are fleeing what was once a safe zone, the southern city of Rafah. The challenges facing the Biden administration from a diplomatic standpoint continue to grow, too. Although the U.S. supports Israel's right to retaliate against Hamas for the brutal October 7th attack that killed more than 1,200 people, there are deep concerns about the Palestinian death toll, as even Prime Minister Netanyahu conceded that his forces have, in fact, killed more civilians than members of Hamas. We begin this morning with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who joins us from the State Department. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. I know military experts say Gaza is as complicated and challenging a battlefield as any modern warfare has seen. But back in December, President Biden said Israel conducted indiscriminate bombing. In February, he said Israel's offensive was over the top. And then this past week, he was asked on CNN about pausing the delivery of 3,500 bombs. Here's what he said.
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem.
Mr. Secretary, is Israel living up to international humanitarian law standards?
Well, first, Margaret, good morning. The report that we put out lays out some of the concerns that we've had throughout this period when it comes to humanitarian assistance, particularly the early months after October 7th, and when it comes to the use of weapons, concerns about incidents where, given the totality of the damage that's been done to children, women, men, it was reasonable to assess that in certain instances, Israel acted in ways that are not consistent with international humanitarian law. It's also critical to note that Israel itself has accountability processes to get at this. There are hundreds of ongoing inquiries looking at different incidents that have taken place since October 7th. There are criminal investigations.